It all started with a challenge, one that would test my patience, discipline, and willingness to learn. I remember sitting in my room, wondering if I was truly ready to take this leap. The idea kept circling in my mind, growing louder every day. Could I turn $1,000 into $10,000? It sounded simple, but the reality was daunting. That stack of bills felt heavy with both risk and possibility. Every dollar counted. This was more than a financial experiment, it was a test of my resolve. I wasn't looking for shortcuts. I wanted to do this the right way, through smart, consistent investing. I spent hours researching, reading, and trying to understand the basics of the stock market. The more I learned, the more I realized how much I didn't know. The stock market fascinated and intimidated me. The numbers, the charts, it was overwhelming. I worried about making mistakes and losing money, but I reminded myself that every expert was once a beginner. It felt like a giant, unsolved puzzle. Each piece, risk, reward, timing, patience, needed to fit together. I didn't know how, but I was determined to try, one step at a time. This challenge sparked something inside me. It wasn't just about money, it was about personal growth. I wanted to prove to myself that I could set a goal, stick to a plan, and see it through. $1,000. It might not seem like much, but to me, it was everything. I set the money aside as my investment fund, the start of something new. That money wasn't just cash, it was a symbol of hope and ambition. It represented the possibility of change and the chance to dream bigger. This was my starting point. A blank page, a fresh chapter, and a world of opportunity ahead. Every journey begins with a single step. I was ready to take mine. This is the story of how I turned $1,000 into $10,000. It's a journey of learning, growth, and transformation, one that anyone can start. So, let's begin. My first step was deciding where to invest my savings. It felt exciting but also intimidating. I wanted my money to grow, but the world of investing was new and full of choices. Should I buy individual stocks? The idea was thrilling, but the risks were real. I'd heard stories of big wins and losses, and I wasn't sure I was ready for that kind of ride. There were so many options: index funds, real estate, and more. Each had pros and cons, and the more I researched, the more overwhelmed I felt. Every article and expert seemed to offer different advice. I worried about making the wrong choice and losing my savings. So, I kept it simple. I made a checklist of my goals, risk tolerance, and how much I could invest. This helped me focus and take that first step. I opened an account with a popular online brokerage. The process was easy. Just a few forms, and I was ready to go. The platform was user-friendly and offered plenty of investment choices. I started researching, using the tools and articles they provided. I spent hours learning the basics: how the stock market works, what makes a good investment, and the value of patience. I focused on key concepts: diversification, risk tolerance, and compound interest. Diversification meant not putting all my eggs in one basket. Risk tolerance was about knowing how much risk I could handle. Compound interest was the magic that could grow my money over time. I wanted to make informed decisions, not just follow trends. Understanding my choices was important. I took online quizzes to assess my risk profile, which showed I preferred steady, long-term growth. After careful thought, I chose low-cost index funds. They offered broad market exposure and low fees. Index funds are baskets of stocks that track the market. Instead of betting on one company, I was investing in hundreds at once. This gave me instant diversification and long-term growth potential. I didn't need to be an expert stock picker. With my plan set, I hit the buy button. My heart raced as I placed my first order. I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. This was my first real step into investing. My money was in the market. I felt proud. This was just the beginning of my investment journey. The first few months were a roller coaster. I remember waking up every morning, heart pounding, eager to check how my investments were doing. Some days, it felt like I was on top of the world. And other days, I wondered if I'd made a huge mistake even getting started. The emotional highs and lows were unlike anything I'd experienced before. The market went up, and I felt like a genius. I'd watch my portfolio climb and think, wow, maybe I'm just naturally good at this. It was easy to get swept up in the excitement, imagining all the things I could do with my future gains. I started to dream big, maybe an early retirement or finally taking that trip I'd always wanted. Then it went down, and I questioned everything. Suddenly, all that confidence evaporated. I'd stare at the red numbers, feeling a pit in my stomach, wondering if I should have just kept my money in a savings account. Every loss felt personal, like a reflection of my own judgment. I started searching for answers, reading every article and forum post I could find. I wanted to know if others felt the same way, if this was just part of the process, or if I was missing something crucial. It was comforting to see that I wasn't alone. So many new investors go through these emotional swings. It was during one of these dips that I encountered the dreaded D word, debt. It crept up on me, quietly lurking in the background while I was so focused on the market. Suddenly, it was impossible to ignore. I had some credit card debt lingering from my college years. It wasn't something I thought about much when the market was up, but when things turned south, it became a source of real anxiety. The interest kept piling up and I realized I was paying more in fees than I was making in investments. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was enough to make me uncomfortable, especially with the market being so unpredictable. Every time I saw a bill come in, I felt a wave of stress. I started to wonder if I was building my financial future on shaky ground. I talked to a few friends and did some research. The advice was clear: before you can really grow your wealth, you need to get rid of high-interest debt. It was a tough pill to swallow, but I knew it was the right move. I knew I needed to tackle it head-on. So I sat down and made a plan. I listed out all my debts, figured out how much I owed, and set some realistic goals for paying it off. It was intimidating but also empowering to take control. So I took a break from investing and focused on paying down my debt as quickly as possible. I shifted my priorities, knowing that every dollar I put toward my balance was a step toward freedom. It wasn't glamorous, but it was necessary. I cut back on unnecessary spending, scrutinizing every purchase. I started making coffee at home, skipped takeout, and canceled subscriptions I barely used. It was surprising how quickly the little things added up. I picked up a side hustle, delivering food in the evenings and freelancing on weekends. It wasn't always easy, but seeing my debt shrink each month kept me motivated. Every extra dollar felt like a small victory, and I threw every extra dollar towards my credit card balance. I made extra payments whenever I could, even if it was just a few bucks. Watching the balance drop gave me a sense of progress I hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't always easy, but I stayed disciplined. There were moments when I wanted to give up, but I kept reminding myself why I started. I tracked my progress, celebrated small wins, and kept my eyes on the bigger picture, and within a few months, I was debt-free. The day I made my final payment, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was a moment of pure relief and pride. It felt amazing to have a clean slate. For the first time in years I could breathe easy, knowing I wasn't dragging old mistakes into my future. I had learned a valuable lesson. Financial freedom starts with a solid foundation. Getting out of debt wasn't just about the numbers, it was about building habits and confidence that would serve me for years to come. Now I was ready to start investing again, but this time, with a much stronger footing. With my debt gone, I could finally focus on growing my investments. I resumed my regular contributions and watched my portfolio slowly but surely increase in value, but then, it happened. The market experienced a significant downturn. My portfolio took a hit and I'll admit I panicked a little. All those gains I had made were shrinking before my eyes. I was tempted to sell everything and cut my losses, but then I remembered what I had learned about long-term investing. Market dips are normal, they're a natural part of the economic cycle. The key is not to panic and sell at a loss but to stay calm and ride out the storm. So, I took a deep breath and resisted the urge to make any rash decisions. As the market slowly recovered, I realized the importance of diversification. If all my eggs had been in one basket, the dip would have been even more painful. But because my portfolio was spread across different asset classes, the impact was cushioned. This experience taught me a valuable lesson: never put all your eggs in one basket. Diversification is essential for managing risk and protecting your investments over the long term. I decided to further diversify my portfolio by adding some individual stocks to the mix. I focused on companies I understood and believed in, companies with strong track records and solid growth potential. The next few months of my investment journey were all about consistency. I continued to invest regularly regardless of what the market was doing. I automated my contributions so I wouldn't be tempted to time the market. I also made it a habit to review my portfolio every quarter and make adjustments as needed. I rebalanced my investments, sold underperforming assets, and looked for new opportunities to grow my money. It wasn't always exciting, but it was effective. Slow and steady wins the race, as they say, and my portfolio continued to grow even when the market threw curveballs my way. Then, one day, it happened. I logged into my brokerage account and saw it. My portfolio had crossed the $10,000 mark. I had done it. I had turned $1,000 into $10,000 through the power of investing. It felt honestly surreal. It wasn't a huge amount of money in the grand scheme of things, but it represented something much bigger. It was a testament to the power of patience, discipline, and long-term thinking. Looking back on my investment journey, I'm struck by how much I learned along the way. Here are a few of the biggest lessons. Start early. The earlier you start investing, the more time your money has to grow. Compound interest is a powerful force. Invest consistently. Consistency is key. Even small contributions can add up over time. Diversify your portfolio. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversification helps manage risk. Stay disciplined. Don't let emotions dictate your investment decisions. Stick to your plan. Think long-term. Investing is a marathon, not a sprint. Focus on the long game. My investment journey started with a challenge to turn $1,000 into $10,000. It wasn't always easy, but it was definitely achievable. And if I can do it, you can too. The first step is often the hardest, but it doesn't have to be. Start by setting a small, achievable goal for yourself. Maybe it's saving $1,000 to invest, or maybe it's opening a brokerage account and investing your first $100. The important thing is to just start. Investing can feel intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. Start small, learn as you go, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. The most important thing is to start your journey. Remember, every successful investor was once a beginner. You don't need to be a financial expert to start investing. There are plenty of resources available to help you learn and grow. Take advantage of them. So what are you waiting for? Start small, dream big, and let your investment journey begin. If you liked the video, then hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching.